Welcome. My name is Dan Powers, and I'm the Voter Service Forum Coordinator for the League of Women Voters of Door County. The upcoming spring election is on April 5th. This forum includes 6 of the county board candidates competing on the April 5th election ballot. 2 candidates each are vying for 3 separate contested seats, District 9, 11, and both of those districts are within the city of Sturgeon Bay, and District 14, which includes portions of the towns of Sevastopol and Sturgeon Bay. Voters should be aware that after the 2020 census, some Door County supervisory districts have had boundary changes. These new boundaries are in effect for the April 2022 elections and all elections going forward. Your district may have changed, so we urge you to check. And the way to do that is you can access the new district maps by going to the Door County government website at www.co.door.wi.gov. Once you're on the county site, up in the upper left-hand corner, if you click on the tab Our County, that'll take you to a page that looks like this, and you'll notice at the top on the right side the arrow County Board Supervisors. That's just a title. Slide down below that to the second arrow, which is a live link, and it reads Final County Supervisory District Plan effective for the 2022 elections. Click on that and you'll get all of the district maps, and you can browse through them to find your district, and you'll be able to see the roads and streets, etc. So you know where you are and which supervisors are running in your district. You can also contact your municipal clerk and check with them. For these contested districts, the candidates running for office are in District 9, Dan Alsted and Jonathan Cruz. District 11, Helen Bacon and Morgan Ruthneck. And in District 14, Derek Demise and Hugh Zettel. Candidates, we want to thank you all for running for these important positions. For updated information on voter registration, absentee ballots, where to vote, etc., you can go to myvote.wi.gov. It'll have all of that information you can find there. On or about March 15th, you can also go to the MyVote site to see all of the candidates that'll be on your specific April 5th ballot. Voter service is the #1 priority of the League of Women Voters. We encourage people to run for office, and we hold forums such as this one to help voters become better informed. More information about the League can be found on our website, League of Women Voters doorcounty.org, and on our Facebook page. As an organization, the League never endorses a candidate or a party. However, we are directly involved in studying and shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates and not of the League of Women Voters of Door County, nor of the League of Women Voters Wisconsin. Our sponsorship of the forum is not an endorsement of any kind or for any candidate. The candidates have agreed in advance to the format of this forum. The order of speaking was decided by lot and will rotate, assuring each candidate will alternately be the first to respond. I will be serving as moderator tonight, and Sandy Brown is our timekeeper. This session is a forum, not a debate. Candidates will introduce themselves in 2-minute opening statements. Then candidates will be given 2 minutes each to answer each question. However, a candidate may decline to answer any question. The questions on this forum were submitted by Door County League of Women Voters members. Questions were screened to eliminate duplicates or those that did not meet the league's policy for forum questions. The questions were not shared with the candidates. However, after this forum, we will send all of the questions that have been submitted to all of the candidates in the various districts so you can see what was on people's minds. Now, candidates, just as a reminder, we will not interrupt you as you speak. However, if needed, the timekeeper will say time when your 2 minutes are up. Thank you for stopping when signaled to do so. The forum will end then with the participants giving closing remarks. Each will have up to 2 minutes to conclude or elaborate on any issue they wish. So now we'll move on to the candidate introductory remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak, up to 2 minutes. The number after each candidate's name is a reminder of the district in which that candidate is competing. Our opening introductory remarks will begin with candidate Zettel. If you'll unmute yourself, and you may begin.
Great. Thanks, Dan. First, I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum for the voters of Door County. The forum is a great service that enables voters to engage in our democracy. By way of background, I'm a fourth-generation Door County native that grew up working in a family-owned construction business and an orchard business in the Sturgeon Bay area. I attended Corpus Christi Grade School, and I'm a graduate of Southern Door High. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the Milwaukee School of Engineering and an MBA from the University of Chicago. After a long, rewarding career in the medical technology industry, my wife and I returned to Door County to begin our next journey. I've been on the Town of Sebastopol's Plan Commission since 2019, and I currently serve as its vice chairperson. I'm also the facility leader at the Garden Door as a Door County Master Gardener. At the macro level, the existing economic environment in Door County has created an imbalance that's generated negative impacts from workforce housing shortages to increased environmental risk. Growing up in Door County, I understand what District 14 residents mean when they tell me they want to preserve the charm and rural character of their towns, and I believe the county can do more to make sure that we strike a proper balance and protect the quality of life and the environment for the county's residents. Thank you.
Candidate Demise.
Hi, my name is Derek Demise. I'm 43 years old. I was born and raised in Door County, graduate from Sebastopol School in 1997. I went to college at Northern Michigan University for television, radio production, and digital arts and computer animation. I work as an independent videographer and editor, and I also am a night auditor at American Inn and Suites in Sturgeon Bay. Being born and raised in Door County, I have a unique insight and want to serve the public as my parents have. My mother was a teacher and my father was in the Army and served in Vietnam. I'm currently on the Town of Sebastopol Communications Committee since 2019. As a county board supervisor, I understand the balance of supporting local farmers, tourism, and want to make decisions to pro-community cohesiveness. And I will continue to support agriculture, education, and internet expansion. I'm going to listen to the constituents, leading to an even stronger community. Thanks.
Candidate Rusnak.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Rusnak. I am running for County Board District 11. That is located within the city of Sturgeon Bay and encompasses the neighborhood closest to Bay Shipbuilding and includes Sunset Park. I have an extensive hospitality background across the county. I've bartended and waited tables up and down the peninsula. And I'm super lucky to have a very close relationship with a wide range of Door County nonprofit organizations, either as a former staff member myself, or as a current member or volunteer or board member or project manager. I am on the board of directors for Open Door Pride and Peninsula Symphonic Band, and I am heavily involved with the Crossroads Trail Run in Sturgeon Bay. And I do sit on the Zoning Board of Appeals for the city of Sturgeon Bay as well. This district has been home to me since moving to Door County about 9 years ago. Prior to that, I attended Marquette University, and my degree is in social welfare and justice. At home, I have a cat, a dog, and a bunch of houseplants. I'm an avid hiker and an avid runner, and Door County is a really great place to do both of those things. In January of 2021, I was appointed to this seat, which is currently District 7. It will be District 11 in the upcoming election. And since then, I've learned a lot. I've listened a lot, and I am certainly excited to continue on this path of public service on behalf of my neighbors. So I really want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum. This is a great resource for the community and a really great way to get to know the folks vying to represent us. So thank you.
And candidate Alsted.
Hi, I'm Dan Austed, a lifelong resident of Sturgeon Bay and married to Jean, and we have 4 children and 8 grandchildren. I used to own Door County Ace Hardware. I'm now retired. I spent all my time in Door County except for when I was in the Army and when I was in college. I graduated from Sturgeon Bay High School and Madison Business College, and I've been a member of the county board for a few years. At one time, I was chairman for at least 2 terms. And I've been past president of the Door County Maritime Museum when we built a maritime museum in downtown Sturgeon Bay. I've been on many other committees on the county board and been involved with an awful lot that has happened with the county in the last few years, knowing that you never do anything by yourself and it takes everybody combined to get something done. And there's a lot of things before the county board and we'll get them done, but we got to get them done together. Thank you.
Candidate Bacon. Helen Bacon, can you unmute yourself?
I gotta do it. There we go. Okay. Anyway, I'm running to represent District 11 in the city of Sturgeon Bay. This district includes Fincanterry Bay Shipbuilding, a leading economic force in our county, the western half of 3rd Avenue with its shops, restaurants, and the 3rd Avenue Playworks and Sunset Park. It's a great mix of homes, industry with vital waterfront and downtown area. I've lived in this district for almost 40 years. I love its history of shipyards and our waterfront walkway with its views of the bay and the steel bridge. As a city alderperson for the last 4 years, I've worked on bringing improvements to our parks to support the beautification project along 3rd Avenue in front of the shipyard and help local businesses make it through COVID. I've worked to bring housing to Sturgeon Bay, which serves not only the city, but also the county as a whole. We work with developers as well as Habitat for Humanity and the Door County Housing Trust. I've been honored to chair the City Finance Purchasing and Building Committee, as well as sit on the Plan Commission. I'm excited to work on housing issues throughout the county. Collaboration between the city and the county includes several revolving loan funds, the Door County Library, which is jointly owned by both the county and the city. We also both work with Door County Economic Development Corporation to look at economic impacts and joint projects that benefit our citizens. I'm also interested in sustainability, promoting the arts, mental health, and substance use, as well as providing the best start that we can for our children and youth. I'm also active in other nonprofit organizations that serve citizens in our county. I see the benefit of my involvement in county government along with city government. The two are not polar opposites, but work together to provide the best services for our citizens. COVID has been a major learning experience for all of us, especially local governments. We have learned a lot, and I like to focus on some of the positives that have come out of the last 2 years. I'm interested and qualified to be your next county board supervisor. Thank you.
We will now begin the question and answer period. And I will read the question one time for the first candidate to speak, but I won't read it for each candidate unless you request me to. So this first question will go to candidate Demise. And if elected, what 2 priorities would your district's residents want you to pursue? And how do you know? Candidate Demise.
All right. Actually, the top priority that I know my residents in my district actually definitely wants us to pursue as a member of the Town of Sebastopol Communications Committee internet expansion is definitely the top priority. And I know that the county board is definitely taking it seriously currently right now with hiring a coordinator so they can work with all the townships. But definitely, I also feel that there should also be individuals that know what they're talking about when it comes to setting up or understand the technologies that are needed to pursue that initiative. Because I mean, we've gone so long with very unusable internet technology for so many years. So that's definitely one of the priorities that I know for sure that my residents in that district knows, due to we've completed many surveys and stuff like that, and that's definitely one of the priorities. Secondly, just like any other district, town of Sebastopol and the town of Sturgeon Bay definitely with a lot of, we've been losing a lot of people, or the younger generation has been coming or leaving just because there's no place to rent. And just definitely want to get low income, or not low income, but affordable housing, just because due to the nature of the community and being tourism based, and some of the housing has gone to more of the STRs and short-term rentals instead of long-term rentals. So we did, in the last previous years, have lost a lot of options for rentals. So
Well, thank you. Candidate Rusnick.
Thank you. Couple priorities. Most immediate would be the county's responsible use of the American Recovery Plan Act funds. So we have a once in a generation chance to truly tackle some once in a generation hurdles that we are facing as a county. And we've been stewarded with that money. It's not free money. It's not a slush fund to patch operations. At our last board meeting, we did allocate that 5.3 million out to several buckets, including broadband, housing, environmental projects, health and human services, and public safety. But now we still need to remain involved with that process to make sure that we deliver on those key projects and priorities, namely the housing, broadband, childcare triad, and that we hold ourselves accountable for investing it appropriately in Door County and its residents. Within those funds, my constituency is also very vocal about wanting to prioritize environmental sustainability across all county operations. Our department heads do a really great job, but there is no single point of contact at this point. There's only a sustainability committee. Keeping it front of mind, keeping it part of the identity, we can be a leader in this area, and I think we're positioned to do so. Outside of the American Recovery Act funds, and secondly, but certainly not lesser, my constituents value transparent and participatory government. I encourage folks to reach out, attend meetings, ask questions, and share their input. Representing a district to me means amplifying the voices of my constituents, not talking over them or pushing through any sort of personal agenda. It's pulling together what I've been told and making that voice louder, and that's why I'm here. So thank you.
Candidate Bacon.
Am I up?
Yeah,
Not yet, Dan.
Dan's next, I think.
Okay.
Oh, yes, you are. My apologies. Yes,
Okay.
Candidate Alstead is up next. Dan, you're muted. You'll need to unmute yourself.
How's that?
You're on. Good.
Okay, we got two issues going before the county right now that are important, that have to be solved. The COVID money, and we have to be careful when we spend that we don't impact future budgets by creating something that we can't sustain after the money that the federal government has given us. Being on the finance committee, it's really important that we spend this money wisely. And the other issue that is on front is the museum archives Yonkers building, and we're in discussions with that, and that will be solved in the next 6 months or so, but it's a very, very important issue right now. And other than that, to continue all the great services that we give the county now and stay within the levy limit, that's going to be a huge challenge. We're right up against the wall with the levy limit. And so, for instance, if we hire one new person, we might have to lay off somebody in order to get the money to pay for the new person. So we got to be careful in what we do and moving forward with the levy limit. Thank you.
Candidate Bacon.
Okay, well, when I talk to people, the complaints that I usually hear and the priorities are housing, of course. And I've had quite a bit of experience working with the city now in working with developers, working on the plan commission. And we are doing our best to bring more housing units, whether it's townhouses, apartments, and kind of learning that whole process. It has been something that's really taken a lot of time and staff time to do. I hear complaints about STRs from everyone. I don't know. We did write an ordinance, and I think that's something that that's more of a local issue that we need to look at again. I hear a lot of complaints about Bay Ship. And that's why the 3rd Avenue beautification that I've been working on is important. Now, all of these are not necessarily, they're tied into the county, they're also local. But I think whenever you live in a municipality, you have to balance what is going on in your district and what's happening at a county level. People are concerned about ARPA funds and wanting them to be spent on services that they can make use of. We don't have the connectivity issues in the city that they do in certain other areas of the county, but people are certainly aware of some of the mental health issues that have been a result of COVID and the increase in not only suicide, but mental health issues, children and adults and elderly. And so that is something that I think people are concerned about and would like us to deal with. And of course, I have an experience with social, health and human services and want to support them going forward. Thank you.
Candidate Zettel.
Since entering this race, I've knocked on over 260 doors in the towns of Sturgeon Bay and Sebastopol to introduce myself to voters and to ask for their feedback. In general, District 14 voters want the county government to deliver services and provide solutions that are effective and that use their tax dollars efficiently. Broadband is top of mind given the ARPA funding and the infrastructures available, as well as the large expanse of residents in the interior of the district that do not have broadband access. Workforce housing is also a concern, and providing extra funding to build more houses or apartments may help, but we also must address the root causes. One of the root causes identified by the County Resource Plan Commission in its 2019 housing report is the impact of secondary homes, mostly short-term rentals, are having and contributing to the housing shortage. And it's an area where county zoning can be used to address this dynamic. It also is a means of addressing the neighborhood quality of life concerns that residents have started raising. In a neighborhood zoned residential, every available house that's taken out of the inventory for transient tourist use is a house where a family can't establish roots, turn that house into a home and become part of a neighborhood, part of a school system, or part of the faith community that strengthens the long-term fabric of the overall community. And for many of our elderly residents that want to age in place, a strong, stable neighborhood is key. So protecting them is critical. Thank you.
And thank you. We'll move to question 2. And this question will go to candidate Rusnick first. And several of you have mentioned this. The county board is discussing how to use the $5.3 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. How do you think it should be allocated and why? And it begins with candidate Rusnick.
Thank you. So first off, I wholeheartedly agree with the priorities that League of Women Voters have set forth, including housing, childcare, broadband, and the sober living house proposed by Health and Human Services. Like I mentioned in the last question, that money isn't free money. It's not a slush fund that can be used for anything. And we certainly cannot treat it that way. So housing, childcare, broadband, those three all go hand in hand to making Door County a place that people can play, work, and most importantly, live. Our population is getting bigger, older, and poorer all at the same time. And we have to alleviate pressure on that system from that triad by offering more affordable housing, accessible childcare, and available internet to help keep Door County a sustainable home for current and future generations. Additionally, I hope we can keep working with department heads to truly put some legs behind some of the sustainability initiatives to get implemented countywide. And last, I hope that we're able to collaboratively find a way to provide more support for domestic violence victims in our community. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and the root of these funds is to help mitigate problems that were made worse by COVID, and that's certainly one of them. Thank you.
Candidate Ousted.
Yes, we've talked about this money all the time, and we've been discussing it quite frequently. There's many good ideas on the table: housing, broadband, childcare, and etc. And what we have to be careful, like I mentioned before, when we do spend this money, that we don't create something that after the money runs out, that we have a way to sustain it. And that's a huge thing. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that's what we have to be careful for. There's a lot of ideas on the table. They've been vetted through many committees already, and I don't have a list of them in front of me and how much they are, but the county is working on it, and it's starting to come to fruition on how we're going to spend it. Thank you.
Candidate Bacon.
Myself. I know that one of the things that's been discussed, I have a long history in health and human services. And one of the things that is being discussed is the sober house, which hasn't been mentioned. And kind of post-COVID, we're having a real exacerbation of substance use, mental health issues, including suicide in the county. And something like this, there are fewer and fewer services available that where we can send people who need to get help. And so sometimes if we have a place in the city, in the county, that we can house people for a day, 2 days, however long they would need to be stabilized, is going to, in the long run, save money. But again, like Dan said, you need to really balance, maybe you can use the money to purchase a house, contract with an agency, but then we need to make sure that we can keep this going, moving forward. Childcare is also an issue. And I'm glad to see that someone has been hired to be a coordinator to look over the county and see what we can kind of do. I know United Way has done a really good job of housing some of the different kind of nonprofits that have really had a good impact on the city. Housing again, often, people think about it's going to be building a house, but frequently it's putting in sewer and water. It's working on infrastructure. That's the type of thing that ARPA plan will be used for. And I know that I don't know how easy it is to always build some of the lower income and even market value lower income apartments for people, but we also need to look at the Door County Housing Trust and work with other available agencies that are out there. Thank you.
Candidate Zettel.
Broadband is an area that's gotten a lot of attention, and rightfully so, especially in our district where the interior of both towns really need broadband access. And the good news is there's also funding that will become available, in addition with the federal infrastructure bill. Now, the hiring of a coordinator by the county board is a great first step, but we have to make sure that the county can expand resources beyond the coordinator position to help organize and ensure that we minimize duplication of effort in municipalities and explore ways that we can gain economies of scale. Expanding childcare is another high priority for me, and we need to make sure we create strategies to make it sustainable, especially with the opportunities to create associations with public-private partnerships. Workforce housing is an opportunity, especially where there are projects that are ready to start. And I know there's a few of those that have been teed up, like the example in Sister Bay. However, looking at zoning changes, through municipalities that are associated with county zoning, could be also a low-cost approach to temper the speculative real estate market that exists today. Thank you.
Candidate Demise.
All right, so I mean, obviously the big thing, one of actually, you can't really prioritize a lot of the stuff because they're all equal importance, but definitely internet expansion that is rightfully a big one, because as we learned in the past couple of years, especially when the schools had to go virtual, it was hard for the kids to actually learn, and when you didn't have reliable internet. So and everything like this candidate forum has all gone virtual, and without good internet, it would be hard to complete. So that's definitely a priority. The housing, I'm with a lot of the numbers that I've been seeing with what currently the county board has been prioritizing, and I do see that a lot of what they were thinking, it has good priorities. I'm actually kind of glad they're actually, one thing that hasn't really been mentioned, but I think is a good idea, is they're planning on updating all the fire numbers through the entire county to make it all standard, universal. And I mean, because a lot of them, especially in different municipalities, they haven't been replaced in almost 40 years. And so they're bent and hard to read. And it's definitely going to help when it comes to emergency services. So, you know, the emergency service aspect of what they're going to be putting the money to, that is definitely a positive, as people said, as well, housing and the mental health aspect and stuff like that. So that's it.
Thank you. Question 3, and this will be directed first to candidate Ousted. Door County faces many long-term issues such as economic development, a fragile environment, infrastructure, housing, wages, labor shortages, and childcare. Which of these or other issues do you find most critical? Candidate Ousted.
Well, that's a pretty tough list to try to pick one item out from the others. They're all important. There's a lot of them that the county itself really can't control, you know, like wages and et cetera. We can help out with the childcare, which we might be doing with this COVID money, and housing also as it goes along. And in the fragile environment, we're continually working on that through zoning and through the zoning committees. But they have any magical solution to these things, I don't really have. It's going to take a lot of talking and a lot of doing to try to figure that out. Thank you.
Candidate Bacon.
Hi. Get this here. I know when you talk about the environment, I know the county has a park system, and the 5-year parks plan looks at trying to, when a piece of property comes available, they look at its overall use for citizens, and is it a piece of property that's worth investing. The county park system is not really a recreational system. It's more of a nature system. So preserving nature. And I think we've done a really good job as a county to do that. I think that sustainability is something that can be worked on. I think Door County is a green tier system now, but it's not, I don't know how active any sustainability committee has been. That is something I'm interested in working on. When it gets to, you know, something like the overall health of the county, really, when you talk about wages and economic development, we have a lot of industry that would like to expand, but sometimes there are the problems, the double-headed sword, so to speak, of childcare and housing. And many people come here to apply for a job, maybe get hired and end up going to work someplace else because they can't find a house, they can't find childcare. So those are a couple of things. I'm glad that, you know, the county is working in collaboration with Door County Economic Development, is very involved in these issues. United Way is involved in some of the issues. And I think every municipality needs to take a look at housing, et cetera. I know the city of Sturgeon Bay we keep adding housing, but the need keeps going up. And I think people are moving to Sturgeon Bay for housing also. Thank you.
Candidate Zettel.
We have to address the current economic environment that's created the imbalance that's impacting our residents' quality of life, you know, whether it's workforce, housing, the environment. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure we invest in a diverse economic business mix. This includes ensuring that we support our agricultural businesses, which are important for District 14 residents and are prominent in the town of Sebastopol's and the town of Sturgeon Bay's comprehensive plans. We also need to encourage manufacturing related development. One of the results of the pandemic is that we're finding that high-tech workers can work anywhere. They don't have to live in Silicon Valley, and these are good paying jobs where they can choose to live anywhere. So why don't we emphasize that as a growth opportunity in the county for residents and making sure it doesn't turn into transient housing? Protecting our natural resources also needs to be a point of emphasis. With tourism growth, the county parks are showing extraordinary wear and tear. As an example, you know, try walking the trails along Cape Point. You know, it's something we have to address. In addition, the county has to continue its investments to protect groundwater and surface waters and continue to encourage public-private partnerships in that regard, such as the successful Dunes Lake Restoration Project in the town of Sebastopol that was done in conjunction with the county. Another post-pandemic concern that I have that should be the assessment in determining our mental health services capabilities, the potential gaps we might have, and a means of addressing them. Thank you.
Candidate Demise.
All right, so some of the long-term issues I think that has pretty much come up in what we've noticed and issues. The big thing is housing. We need more affordable housing. I mean, I've said this a lot of times that there's, you know, to rent is, you know, a hard thing to do, especially when the minimum wage is low. That ties in with the wages, though. I will say I did look it up in the state of Wisconsin. Counties and cities are allowed to set their own minimum wages. So, I mean, maybe that's something that we could possibly look into to see if we could set up more of a standard minimum wage in the county that could be more affordable. And again, if you get the wages right, you get the housing right, labor shortages will start coming into place, and you know, you won't have that much labor shortage. And definitely with childcare as well. Hopefully more people are working. You get the childcare centers, and then we'll be able to work all in a not a perfect harmony of a circle. I know it sounds really weird, but they're all tied together. So that's what that's it.
Thank you. And candidate Rusnick.
Any one of those issues on that list is not more critical than the next. None of them are mutually exclusive, and they're all intertwined. In the same way, they cannot be addressed in their separate bubbles. You can't talk about housing without talking about wages. You can't talk about wages without talking about labor shortages. They are all, they're all intertwined. What I do day in and day out, regardless of if I'm in the boardroom or not, is work hard to amplify the voices out there who are rolling up their sleeves, making big strides, and making sure that they know that their work is appreciated, is supported, and not going unnoticed. Oftentimes we see people chasing credit or reinventing the wheel to chase that credit. Collaboration in a place like Door County is key, and it is the only way we're going to solve any of these issues or make any progress. So when folks are moving houses to create workforce housing, or fundraising massive amounts of money to protect delicate pieces of land, or receiving these amazing grant funds to provide more childcare, it is my job, it is all of our jobs to back them up and make sure that no barriers stand in their way. We did take a big step as the county to allocate some of those ARPA funds to these projects, but that is a starting point. It's not the finish line. So it can be easy to assume that that allocation process is us doing the work, but we have not even started yet. That starts now. Additionally, health in general, I would add to this list, including the spike of mental health issues and substance abuse within this community. That is something we need to continue to be mindful of and address proactively. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving to question 4. And this will be addressed first to candidate Bacon. Residents sometimes complain their supervisor does not reply to their contacts. If elected, what will be your policy for responding to calls and emails from constituents? And how will you get feedback and represent all of the residents in your new district? Candidate Bacon.
I think one of the things is, I truly believe that, you are elected by a certain set of citizens in your district, but once you're elected, you really need to represent them all. And I received quite a few emails, some phone calls, some letters, and I've gotten to know some of the people that give me feedback more often. And I think it is important to respond, but it's also important to follow up. And if it's a complaint, to follow it up with the right department, the right person. And it's also very important because sometimes people don't understand things like they think something should be an easy fix. And actually, when you get into a governmental system, it can become a rather long, drawn out and prolonged process of trying to fix something. And not everything is easily fixed. So I think part of it is responding, but then also following up later, and then also trying to explain how the process works. Government is different than, it's just a different animal, and it is sometimes very difficult to kind of, for a person to access some of those departments, et cetera, by themselves. And I think it is my job and anyone that's elected to work and help a constituent work through that process themselves. And not everybody is always happy with the answers, but they are just as important as someone else. So thank you.
Candidate Zettel.
My email and phone number are available on my election materials, so residents can always reach me within reason using my personal contact information. And of course, the county will have contact information and resources that they can reach out to the supervisors. I think it's important to both get back to the residents that contact us as soon as possible, and to be responsive and help them understand the process relative to the particular concern or issue that they're raising. I also plan on collaborating with the 2 town boards that are in District 14. So I'm able to get feedback from the town board meetings, which is another public forum where we can meet with the constituents that I would represent. And it also is a means of ensuring transparency and a good way to visibly show that we are collaborating between the county and the towns and the municipalities that our districts have underneath them. Thank you.
Candidate Demise.
All right. Obviously, one thing I've always said is you have a phone for a reason. Unfortunately, my phone doesn't ring often, so I definitely will be glad if anybody wants to call me. I mean, I like talking to people. Those that know me know I sometimes can't get off the phone in a timely fashion. But so yeah, if people call me, I'll definitely respond to them if I can. I mean, if I miss their calls, I'll definitely respond to them. I usually try to get back to people within 24 hours. Same thing with emails. I'm addicted to reading every single email that goes through my email folder and responding to everything that goes through it. So when it comes to getting a hold of me, I'm always able to get a hold of. I mean, when it comes to the town of Sebastopol, I mean, I'm always at the, all the meetings every month. So, I mean, they can always are free to talk to me there. Definitely will. And one thing that has been lacking in the past, but I definitely will do that would be a forward report on the town meetings. I definitely have been the last couple months I've been going to the town of Sturgeon Bay meetings as well, keeping track of, getting to know everybody there, and also just getting the feel so they feel comfortable with me. So if they have any questions, they can always come and talk to me as well. Thank you.
Candidate Brusnick.
Thank you. So I love it when people reach out to me, mostly because that means that we as a governmental body are making our general public comfortable to do so, and that they feel that we are approachable enough to voice their concerns. I want people to know that they are being heard and that their message is not getting lost in some void, or that there's no auto email going out. I respond to the emails that I get. I also get very few phone calls, but that's okay. If I don't have the answer, which many times I don't have the answer, I will get you pointed in the right direction or to the right department head or committee, or a lot of times I have peers that reach out to me that say, hey, I have this county issue. Who is my supervisor? How do I find it? I love being that first point of contact. Like, I love being that front line of, hey, this is a familiar person that let me help you get your next step. I also try to share information where people are consuming their information. So I do currently have a county board Facebook page where I share all of our full board agendas, agendas for all the committees that I personally serve on, and any other that are more, pressing for public interest. So some of our finance committee meetings, our budget meetings, any public hearings, all that kind of goes on that page. I also share a lot of county department information, public health, ADRC, library programs, and some of our partner organizations. I share a lot of the United Way stuff and Jack's Place. I really try to make that a community hub so people can kind of see how the county services can be seen and felt within the community. So it's really easy to kind of clump the county as this overlying cloud. But when you start to see how those services and partnerships relate to your day-to-day, it creates a healthier relationship with our constituency and a better understanding of the scale of what we as local government do. I get a lot of messages that route. I get a lot of people who reach out to me via Facebook. It's really easy to skip over a meeting page in the Pulse. So being forthcoming with the information that we're providing, so the backtracking after a decision has been made, has really made me an asset to my constituents. Thank you.
Candidate Ousted.
Well, I like to be contacted either personally or by phone so we can resolve the issues right face to face. Sometimes emails get very impersonal and people don't get all the right information. So I'd rather have people contact me. Living in the city, we're not that far apart, so people can stop by and say something to me. And I try to respond to everybody that responds to me. So most issues are fairly complicated, and a lot of people don't have all the information and what they got to ask, and then we can resolve the issues that they might have with the knowledge that we got. Thank you.
Moving on to question 5 then, and this will begin with candidate Zettel. How would you describe your fiscal philosophy as it pertains to spending and budgeting the county's money? Candidate Zettel?
Relative to the investments that are being made, you have to provide some return on that investment that you make, right? You need to find a way to describe the measurable outcome you're trying to achieve. So that's important. I'm not a fan of spending money for money's sake if it doesn't provide a tangible benefit to the constituents. And in addition, I think we have to make sure we're doing enough with the ongoing county operations to use those funds more efficiently. A great example of that is the county's investment in operating their own salt grinding tanks for water road maintenance, or for winter road maintenance. This investment has multiple wins, right? It reduces salt use by 1/3, so it reduces cost. Less salt use is also good for the environment, and most importantly, brining is more effective than applying salt directly, and it results in safer roads. We need to, encourage these types of investments and highlight to residents the kinds of returns that these types of investments provide. We have to make sure we can show our constituents that they are getting the best bang for their buck. Thank you.
Candidate Demise.
I totally agree. One thing I definitely feel that needs to be not necessarily addressed, but make sure when it comes to when you're trying to save money, you're not doing it to put other people at risk as a secondary effect. For example, there's a township that, let's just say, the grass on the side of the road, they only cut it once a year in July, just because they want to save some money when it comes to their funds. I mean, the grass grows from March until October, and if you wait until July, I mean, the grass is going to be 3-4 feet tall, especially at the stop signs, at the intersections. That's where you get the accidents. I don't think it should be run that way. I think if you're trying to be, I do understand people need to be fiscally responsible when it comes to money, but again, not at the expense of, the constituents. I mean, the same township, they decided, oh, we're not gonna plow snow unless you get 2 inches of snow on the ground. I mean, it's just one of those things where it doesn't matter how much of the inch of snow, if you have some ice underneath it, just a little bit of snow will make that intersection deadly. You have to, I think, when it comes to financially, you definitely, if you have to spend the money in order to keep your constituents and your residents safe, then you got to do it, no matter what the cost. And I do wholeheartedly agree with the idea that the county purchased that salt brine, or the brine production thing. I mean, that's definitely saving money instead of having to go to Green Bay every year to get refills. So that's what I'm.
Thank you. Candidate Elston. Dan Alsted, you have to unmute. Candidate Alsted, there you go.
I'm unmuted, no.
There you
Well,
go.
the first thing we should do is spend very wisely. And the budgeting procedure has already started for the county for next year. And it goes through just many meetings. And one of the problems that we have this levy limit sitting in front of us, like I mentioned before, and it becomes extremely hard to cut the budget to make a smaller taxes, because if we cut the tax this year and lower the limit, then come next year, we can't get the tax back in because we lower our levy limit. So with inflation on its way, I think we're going to have a lot of problems trying to keep all the staff that we have, because there's raises that have to be given, and we have a great staff, and it's going to be tough, but to spend wisely and try not to get trapped into bad spending. Thank you.
Candidate Bacon.
Dan, I think you skipped Morgan.
I apologize. Why don't you go ahead, Helen? I'll come back to more Candidate Krusnick.
Okay. Well, the budget is the first priority. I mean, it's not probably the sexiest part of the county, but it is a priority. And within a department, departments need to be creative and be able to explain what they're doing. Creativity in spending money within that budget, looking for grants. You also need to, as a supervisor, be aware and think out into the future, not just what does this particular budget look like, but what does it look like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line. And rolled into this is we have, also, unpaid mandates, which just throws a wrench in everything, along with the levy limits. And then I guess if I don't understand a department, it's really my responsibility as a supervisor to really study that department and look at what the department, how it's running, what that relationship is to the budget. So one of the things that a supervisor really needs to do is learn how individual departments work, and then be able to look at the budget as a whole. We've had increasing budget restraints over the years. I'm thinking, 20 years, it's been getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And we've had to do more and more with less and less. And it really requires a lot of thinking. It's probably the most serious thing that we do in government. Thank you.
And candidate Rusnick, with my humble apologies.
No worries, no worries. So my high level philosophy is investing in people, the environment, and the services that keep our population safe and healthy. Those three things, I don't consider that a spend, it is an investment. So I will be frank, I'm not the one who's going to find ways to cut corners in order to save a few bucks. Providing robust public health and safety services, protecting our natural and cultural resources, and the investment in people. And that includes both county staff who do the work. They show up 9 to 5, every day, and they get the work done, making sure that they are taken care of. And then the residents who benefit from our services. So healthy people, healthy environment, those are my top 2 pillars, and that is where I believe our money as a county should be invested first. Thank you.
And thank you. We started about 5 minutes late, so I think we're in good shape to do one more question before the closing comments. So we'll move on to slide 18. And this will begin with candidate Zettel. Should the Door County Board take up resolutions pertaining to issues brought to it by the public, for example, redistricting, mining, equity statements, etc.? What do you think and why? Candidate Zettel.
Yes, I think it's important to get the feedback from the public on areas of concern and evaluate that input relative to how we govern as a county board. At the same time, we also have to be cognizant of the partisan environment that exists in our country and communities today. And as a nonpartisan entity, we need to act accordingly and consistent with our mission in addressing the concerns that are raised. Thanks.
Thank you. And candidate Demise.
All right, so this is actually a really good question. One of the big things that for me, I think that the county board brought up last year falls under that equity statements and equality and stuff like that. And I just feel that I was a little disappointed after they kind of went back on it a month later and so on and so forth. To me, it just felt like they were taking us 3 steps ahead, 2 steps back. Personally, and part of it is political. I mean, I feel that, in my personal opinion, I think they step back just because it's coming up to an election year and they didn't want to touch a topic that was really a hot button topic. I think Door County in itself has really progressed when it comes to equality of individuals, at least from when I was in high school. I mean, it back 25 years when I graduated, if you're, gay or whatever, it was hard. It was really a hard time to be that because you were beaten up. It was just bad. I mean, now just looking at how 25 years later, you drive up and down the county and there's at least 100 pride flags out in June. So, I mean, it's a great time to be in Door County. I think the county board should also, they should be, I definitely think they're doing as best as they can. And I 100% think that it's going to be better.
Thank you. Candidate Rusnick.
Thank you. So I fully support and encourage any discourse with the county board. I truly believe that there is no work that is not our job. We need to welcome those conversations and really take part in some active listening. That's really how we get to know our community as a whole better and really get a pulse on what the needs are. If folks are passionate enough and organized enough to bring it to this body, more power to them. And maybe an issue does not result in a passed resolution. Maybe a resolution is presented and it goes nowhere. That certainly does not mean that there's not steps that we can't take as leaders. So maybe we pass it to an appropriate committee or department. Maybe it's an issue better suited for a municipality, or maybe we refer it out to a different organization, a partner organization that will be a better resource for this group. But let's find a home. We can't shut out any discourse. We can't shut it down because it's uncomfortable. If that's what our constituency values, we do owe them that audience and the same follow-up any other constituent would receive. Thank you.
Candidate Alsted.
Well, I think we got to be careful on which resolutions we have and which we don't have. We got an awful lot of business to do, and we should be doing resolutions that pertain to the county, not to all the national issues and all that, because we can't do anything about it anyway. And we should keep the resolutions, try to be in that we can have something to do with them after we make the resolutions. Sometimes we get offline a little bit. I remember once we made a resolution congratulating the Packers for winning the Super Bowl. That's not all bad, but we shouldn't take every resolution that someone thinks is important and put it on a county board agenda and then try to talk about it and pass it or not pass it. Stick with county business mostly. Thank you.
And Candidate Bacon.
Well, I think that as in, your own life, it's important to take care of business that you need to prioritize what's happening. And I think that resolutions come in a variety of ways. Some of them come through other counties, and you can't really take a look at all resolutions or bring all resolutions forward. But resolutions that come from individuals are also important to look at, or issues that are important to look at. But I think county business really does need to come first. And you need to, I think, really respect that when you're looking at issues. I know when I was on the legislative committee, there were a lot of people that came and wanted to talk about the Back 40 mine. And in talking, you realize that the Back 40 mine, any effluent that came down the river would come over to Fish Creek, Egg Harbor, et cetera. So there was a county connection. I think we ended up doing a resolution, but there was that county connection that I think was important. So I think it's very important to tie it into whatever is happening at a county level and make sure that it's not, if you spend too much time on every resolution or every concern that comes up, are you really putting forth the effort and the time to look at some of the issues that the county has? And I think that's, it's really important. It's really hard to weigh some of these sometimes. Thank you.
And that will bring us to our candidate closing remarks. Each of you will have up to 2 minutes to make a closing statement or elaborate on any issue or issues that you wish. We will begin with candidate Demise.
All right, well, thank you. First, I just definitely want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this candidate forum. This is definitely a great resource to the public, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I basically just would like to say that for the last few years, working with town board working with the supervisors and the from town of Sebastopol in the committees and stuff like that. I love volunteering my time to make my community, the whole county in general, just a better place for everybody. And that is one of the reasons why I am definitely running for county board supervisor. And I have the passion, and I hope that people see that when they watched us. Thank you.
And thank you. Candidate Rusnak.
Thank you. So we as residents deserve diverse local governments that truly represent the makeup of our community. So as a governing body, we have to welcome and encourage different viewpoints, different experiences, and different stories from both those who are sitting in the boardroom and the population that we are elected to serve. Otherwise, we risk becoming an echo chamber that disproportionately services only parts of the population and not the collective. Having that diversity helps break down any perceived barriers from constituents when it comes to communication. I know that I'm more willing to reach out to my own elected officials if I see myself somewhere at that table. Like, I know that I'm welcome. There are so many reasons to why people call Door County home, and people have so many different relationships to this place. Some are fifth generation with deep, deep, deep roots, and some are hopeful residents that would like to be a part of this community but can't find housing or childcare, so they can't feasibly make the move here. So I want to continue to advocate for voices that have been traditionally underrepresented in local government. Thank you to League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Thank you to all the other candidates on this call. I've loved listening to all of your perspectives and learning more about the issues that you are facing in your individual pockets of the county. A wide range of voices most authentically represents our community, and I do hope to continue serving in this capacity. If you're watching this, please reach out with questions. I'm easily found online. So thank you. I look forward to meeting you all. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Alston.
I'd like to thank the league for having this forum. And I also like to have the people vote for me. As many of you know, I've been on the county board for quite a few years, and the county board shifts about 25 to 40% every term. And I think it's important to have someone that's been there on there to bring back the knowledge and experience why we did things the way we did years ago. We have a great county. We have a lot of great employees. And the biggest thing we've got to do is to sustain that we do for the county now as good as we do. Thanks.
And thank you. Candidate Bacon.
Hi. Well, I hope that the listeners have gotten to know me a little better. I've enjoyed my years in public service and hope to be elected April 5th. I feel I can be creative and come up with new and innovative solutions to problems. Being a supervisor means dealing with a lot of data, different personalities, and sometimes making very hard choices. I also believe that being nonpartisan is the best approach to working together to solve issues. It's important to set aside politics and work as an advocate for change for all citizens. I am open to listening to all ideas and trying to make solutions that are a win-win. I have experience with both government and nonprofit boards. I'm able to take the initiative and see projects through to the end. I enjoy chairing meetings and working with board members as well as department heads and their staff. I took the initiative to take a 9-month-long leadership and government course. I have taken my elected responsibilities seriously. My career was as a registered nurse, but in my work as an elected official, I now feel comfortable dealing with developments, planning, zoning, economic issues, the budget, as well as healthcare, mental health, and wellness. I feel that I bring a well-rounded approach to being your next county board supervisor for District 11. Thank you to the league for having this forum, and please vote on April 5th. Thank you.
And thank you. And candidate Zettel.
Right. Thank you. Protecting Door County's charm, rural character, its environment, and residential neighborhoods while operating county government in a fiscally responsible manner are important to the District 14 residents that I hope to help achieve. While on the Town of Sebastopol Plan Commission, whether it was conducting the evaluation of the quarry development project or implementing an STR ordinance, I've worked to ensure the quality of life of the town's residents based on their feedback and consistent with the town's comprehensive plan developed by the town stakeholders. And I pledge to continue to build on those efforts for the residents of District 14 and the county at large. My technology background and related business electronic health information and operations experience, I think, will be helpful as the county navigates expanding broadband access. Speaking directly to District 14 residents, I respectfully and humbly ask for your vote. And lastly, I'd like to again thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring and conducting these candidate forums. Thank you.
And thank you. We want to thank all of the candidates and thank you for being willing to run and serve if elected. We also want to note that candidate Jonathan Cruz, who's a candidate in District 9, at the last moment was unable to participate in the forum. You saw his name throughout on all of the slides. Again, as a reminder, the general election is April 5th. You can check or update your registration or request and track absentee ballots at myvote.wi.gov. Be sure to allow or to follow all of the instructions carefully. And if voting absentee, try to mail the ballot at least a week before election time or drop it off early at your municipal clerk. Remember, voters can always register at their polling place when they go in to vote in person. A recording of this forum will be made available to the public on the League of Women Voters Door County website. And again, that is League of Women Voters doorcounty.org and on our Facebook page. It may also be broadcast on local cable channels. The League will reach out to local media outlets to encourage the public to view the recording prior to voting. We ask all viewers to encourage others to listen to the candidates and to inform themselves about the people on their ballot and to vote. Thank you for watching and listening to the candidates for Door County Board of Supervisors. Again, in Districts 9 and 11, which are both in the city of Sturgeon Bay, and District 14, which includes portions of the towns of Sebastopol and Sturgeon Bay. And with that, we conclude this forum. Thank you.